Let me see.
Okay,
I'm gonna remove my
there you
spotlight.
go. There you go. I think that's just me.
Yep.
Okay, well, good. All right. Hey, good morning, brothers. Hope everybody's doing great. Hope everybody's having a good weekend, good Sunday so far. The reflection for today. Today is Sunday, the 21st of March. The reflection is titled Cleaning the Context. True healing requires true connection. We're coming out of John 8:32. I like the New Revised Standard Version, and it reads, it's very brief here. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. When Black people hear this verse in the Bible, we should pay, in my opinion, special attention to this verse, right? Because this verse is laying out a formula for reaching freedom. And of course, for Black Americans, we were brought here for the express purposes of being enslaved. And so, throughout our time and history in this country, freedom has been elusive. And if we're being completely transparent and completely, cutting through to the chase, so has truth. Freedom has been elusive, and so has truth for Black people in this country. So, if we're dealing with a situation where it was never meant for us to have freedom, and freedom comes from knowing the truth, then we should probably suspect that somewhere along the way, some way, truth is being withheld from us as well. For generations, Black children were born into an American reality that told them that their sole purpose in life was to be hewers of wood and drawers of water, a permanent servant class to white people. And here's the thing, that false hierarchy that was set up required a lot of lying. That false hierarchy required a lot of lying. So for generations, those Black babies born into captivity had to be fed a steady diet of lies that shortchanged their humanity and convinced them that their shortchanged humanity was actually the right amount of humanity that they were due. So it was a couple of lies in there. Number one, shortchanging their humanity, and number two, gaslighting those babies, those generations, and saying, hey, the amount of humanity that you're receiving is actually the right amount of humanity for you. And this system went on for hundreds of years. Today, many of those lies just went from explicit bias to implicit bias, where Black children are viewed as older and more hostile from the very beginnings of their lives, like preschool age. Black patients are less likely to be prescribed pain medication, and Black folks with better resumes get fewer callbacks than their white peers with less impressive pedigree. And trust me, I don't want to go back to the way things were, but I will say the implicit bias is as destructive and as deadly as anything else in the world. And that's where I want to focus today, on how all the lies and intricate plots have affected us intergenerationally, up to and including how they continue to make an impact in our lives today. Y'all already know I was the little kid in the hood with the stamp collection and the chemistry set, quoting facts and figures out of the World Book Encyclopedia. And thank God that I was arrogant enough. Some people might frame it as, thank God I was arrogant enough at 7 or 8 years old to insist that I was actually in the right to be intellectually curious. Meanwhile, unfortunately, many Black boys at such an early age have already begun to engage in what researchers call identity foreclosure. Identity foreclosure. What that means is it is at a very early age, before they've even had a chance to really learn what the world has to offer. Unfortunately, Black boys oftentimes begin shutting down the number of possibilities for what they may be when they grow up. And here's what I understand at 47 years old, with a wife and a kid, whether I was 5, 10, 15, or 20 years old, no matter how strong willed I was, I still wanted the world to see me, to esteem me, to value me, and to appreciate me. And if we've read and we believe Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's part of being a human being. And I am a human being. I want y'all, if y'all don't mind, just say that with me a little bit. I am a
I
human
am a human
being.
being.
Just take a breath One more time. I
I am a
am
human being.
a human being. I wanted to really take a second there because that's something that as Black people, we don't oftentimes get a chance to stop and acknowledge. My body is made of flesh and blood. If you cut me, I bleed. I have dreams and aspirations. I can be intellectual and lascivious at the same time. I have fears and sensitivities, and I have rights, chief among them to be fully human all the time. But again, that's at 47 years old. I have what Brother Tony Burke, who's not on the Zoom today, but what Brother Tony calls bought wisdom. I have the scar tissue to show from my life experiences, but many Black boys who've not yet come into their bought wisdom struggle with some of the unique curveballs that life throws Black folks and Black boys. And nobody tells us it's okay for us to even have emotions. So, of course, nobody is teaching most of us how to process those emotions and to deal with them in healthy ways. So, in the presence of all the false narratives about who we are, we can become about false narratives about who we are, who we can become, and who we are allowed to be. Many Black boys adopt a protective posture. One of which a writer named Dr. Richard Majors, who's not related to me, quoted in a New York Times article almost 30 years ago called "Cool Pose." It's a set of language, mannerisms, gestures, and movements that quote unquote exaggerate or ritualize masculinity. The essence of cool is to appear in control, whether through a fearless style of walking, an aloof facial expression, the clothes you wear, a haircut, your gestures, or the way you talk. The cool pose shows the dominant culture that you are strong and proud despite your status in American society. Dr. Majors goes on to explain that cool pose allows the Black boys to adopt it to appear competent and in control in the face of adversity. It may be, and I italicize this, his only source of dignity and worth, a mask that hides the sting of failure and frustration. And listen, I know that doesn't apply to a lot of us on this Broger call doing yoga on a Sunday morning. Most of us grew up with lots of opportunities for self-esteem, dignity, and worth. But I still believe that sometimes, without us even knowing it, we adopt different little self-protective postures, patterns of behavior, habits, mannerisms. I read an article years ago about a sister who lives in a luxury Manhattan high rise, and she said that just because she had gotten so used to dealing with her neighbors and how they look at her sometimes in the building, she would, when she was going to the laundry room in the building, she would put on her Gucci loafers just to go do her laundry. And we might shake our heads at that, but we get it, right? I know I do. Heck, if I'm being 100% real about it, getting an MBA from Harvard might be one of the most Gucci loafers in the laundry room things I've ever done. But this is what I want us to take away here. And this is what I believe is part of my job today to say to us, myself included, no matter the lies that were told on you, told to you, or told about you, you are beautiful and you are brilliant and beautifully and brilliantly Black. And you have the right to be 100% human, to laugh and to cry, to hurt and to call time out when you need it, and to take a break to rest and restore yourself before you need it. That's one I need to always remind myself of. And here's why it's so important to be able to cut through all the BS that the world puts on us and then the BS that we put on top of that BS to try to restore back some of what the world tried to take from us. When I came up with this title for this reflection, Cleaning the Contact, the picture that came to my mind was my first roommate in my dorm room at Morehouse. Not Marcus. This is before I even met Marcus. But my roommate freshman year, he was this big Nintendo player, right? And I just remember the picture of him whenever the game would start behaving erratically. He'd take the cartridge out of the game, he'd shake it, and then he'd blow into the cartridge. And what I didn't realize that I learned is that apparently dust can get into the cartridge and it can settle on the metal connectors where the game cartridge plugs into the actual Nintendo system. And that dust would get in the way of the connection between the two pieces of metal. And when that dust would get in between those contact points, the game cartridge and the game system couldn't talk to each other the right way. They couldn't connect. In many ways, That's what's going on with us. We have so many layers of untruth built up. Sometimes our contacts, our connecting points have all this caked on crap that won't let us connect. And I believe that's Jesus's point in this verse from the Bible. You will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Getting to the truth is peeling away all those layers so our connectors can be clean. You don't need an Ivy League degree or fancy clothes to be acceptable. Peel that BS away. You don't need to be cool or tough or always in control. Peel that BS away. You don't have anything to prove. Your father didn't have anything to prove. Your grandfather didn't have anything to prove. Or none of your ancestors had anything to prove. As Brother Gil Scott Heron tells us, sometimes they tell lies and put them in a truthful disguise, but they're still lies. Peel all that BS away. Peel all that stuff away from your life. Peel it away from your mind, and especially peel all that untruth away from your heart. And once we start peeling all that stuff away from our minds and our hearts, when our contact points are unblocked, we will be better able to have true connection with each other, with the world, and with the divinity that lives within each. And once we are able to have true connection, that connection will help us heal from all the untruths that this world has tried to heap on us. And once our connection is true and clear and we begin to heal, that is the point at which we begin to be free. Now, as is our custom, as we end our weekly reflection, I ask that you all would join me in this intention for our time together. Let us be intentional that our Broga practice might be a living metaphor for our life practice. And so it is,
our
intention. Let us be intentional that we pursue freedom through truth over comfort that requires allowing untruth to stand. There's nothing wrong with comfort. In the words of James Brown, we're all people. We like the birds and the bees, but we'd rather die on our feet than live on our knees. Let us be intentional about getting off of our knees and standing in the truth that will set us free.
And so it is
our intention. Let us be intentional about insisting on our right to be fully human. Counterintuitively, it's by going more fully into our humanness that we connect to the divinity that lives within ourselves. When we are living in the truth of our freedom, we don't have to be hard. Be soft. Let us commit to feeling all of our feelings. And when we need to, when we're called upon to do so, let us commit to still standing up for ourselves and for those who we love. And so it is, our intention. Finally, brothers, let us be intentional to embrace the opportunities in our lives for healing. Truth sets us free. Truth allows us to connect with God, ourselves, and each other without pretense. Without the pretense of being the person that a world that never intended for us to be free has tried to tell us that we are, without the pretense of the reactive patterns of thought and behavior that we've adopted to defend ourselves, but that also ended up limiting our full expression of humanity in the process. Let us make a decision right here, right now, that we will heal. We will heal ourselves, and in healing ourselves, we will bring healing to the generations that came before us and to the generations coming in the future. And let us be intentional about starting our healing journeys with truth, in truth, and for truth. And so it is, our intention. We pray these and all things in the names of both our ancestors and our unborn grandchildren. Amen, Ashe, Namaste. And so it is.
And so it is, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brothers.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Let me get started here. Yeah, there's a piece in there I was gonna ask you about, and now it slipped away from us. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again afterwards.
All right.
There's a little note in there I meant to ask you about.
Sure, absolutely.
Very cool, John.
Thank you.
I don't know if you guys ever watch these again, but I'm always promoting watching them again because I find myself watching them the second time and without, you know, without the context of, without any context, the first time around, I pick up one thing, and the next time I pick up something totally different. So I would encourage you guys to do that occasionally. I won't browbeat you over because I know I do.
Hey, listen, I'll listen to them again myself, because sometimes I think I'm so focused on making sure I'm trying to get the little words and delivery and all that right. I don't always get as much as out of it as possible as well. So, you know, I will go for a walk in the morning, whatever, put my headphones on and play something and listen to myself. So.
Hey man, it's a beautiful thing. Hey, I'm gonna let you guys catch a couple breaths. I'm just gonna run right across the hall, use the restroom, and jump right back.